Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. Today is April 16th, 2017. Tonight's Monday Night Raw is going to be part of the Superstar Shakeup. Last year they came up with this name to sort of change the way they did it. They're no longer doing the draft where they would have like a Super Monday Night Raw where they would draw names at random, basically to bounce people back and forth. This is basically to make it sort of seem like the GMs of Monday Night Raw are actually signing people or stealing people from the other brand and bringing them over. It sort of brings a little bit of a dynamic, almost like free agency in sports. So I honestly kind of like this a little bit more. Plus, it brings up that big ultimate piece of surprise that goes along with it. When it got down to the end of the draft on Monday Night Raw, it was almost like they would pull like a slot machine and they would just have pictures on the Titantron that would just roll around. It almost seemed like it was just complete crap that you could just tell was totally scripted, and it didn't really seem like it was going to be a surprise who was going to come out on top. So basically I'm going to make a video for tonight's Monday Night Raw. This is going to be the list of competitors that I think is going to be jumping ship. Let me kick this thing off with that, the John Cena storyline of him being a free agent has been going on for about 6 months. I think the first time that he bounced from SmackDown to Monday Night Raw was when he did the match. I believe it was at No Mercy against Roman Reigns to get him on the Raw brand. I'm not sure if they think that the days of John Cena are soon to be done, or maybe they think that it's just better because of him constantly filming, that if he can be closer to where he's filming, they can just get him on one of the shows and it doesn't really matter. They'll just make it work once they know where he's going to be. But it's been 6 months, and SmackDown nor Raw has been able to sign this guy. I think it's kind of funny to be still calling this guy a free agent. Just say that he's the biggest star in the company and he can do ultimately what he wants to do. After listening to this Something to Wrestle With, basically talking about how Stone Cold Steve Austin had in his contract that he was not able to be drafted when WWE had never had a draft. It's just to the point where it's funny, and it's almost a lot like the whole John Cena thing. Basically, with the guys from SmackDown jumping to Monday Night Raw, I ultimately thought it was harder to pick the main event person that was going to come over. I thought it would have been very easy to say it was going to be Owens and Zane, but with Owens and Zane showing up last week on the Raw after WrestleMania, and basically Kurt Angle not jumping at the chance to pick them up, I don't think it's going to be them. I think that they have a storyline going on SmackDown. I think we have to see how it's going to play out. Obviously, Shane is not going to re-sign them unless he just finds some way just to bury the hatchet between them, or I don't know, ultimately ask them to do something for him, I guess. That part doesn't really make sense, but to have them not be able to get a job last week and then have a match to see which one of them would get hired, just to bring them out and say that he signed them this week, doesn't really make much sense to me. I was going to say that it was going to be AJ Styles, but with AJ Styles still being your WWE champion after not losing to Nakamura at WrestleMania, that's going to be a little bit weird. I know ultimately Monday Night Raw really doesn't have a champion because Brock Lesnar being champion the last year, he doesn't really show up that much. And I think Monday Night Raw would be a whole lot more fun if they did have a champion. But I don't really see them putting Brock on SmackDown yet either, because SmackDown is still looked at as if it is the B show. And for them to take that kind of a gamble to put somebody like Brock Lesnar on there doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I'm guessing that the person I'm going to pick is going to be Randy Orton. Orton, would come over. He is sort of at a low point on the SmackDown thing. Last year, this guy was basically used as a tag team wrestler, wrestling with Bray Wyatt, which led to Bray and Randy winning the Royal Rumble and the Elimination Chamber, which led to the split up of the Wyatts. And then, being in the championship match at WrestleMania, one of the least anticipated WrestleMania matches I can think of. They did the whole effect with the worms and all that jazz, and I don't think anybody liked that match. Now we come to this year's WrestleMania. Randy Orton is wrestling for the United States Championship. Easily, Orton is not one of my favorite guys in the company, but this is really the lowest point that I think he's ever been, on the card. I don't want to say he's just completely totally slipping off the edge, but maybe jumping to Monday Night Raw would really give his career a really big boost. I think that the next people is going to be a member of a tag team. I'm going to pick the Usos to jump over. Usos have probably had one of the best years they've ever had in the company. It was sort of, highlighted by them wrestling on their first WrestleMania, actually wrestling on the main card, not being forced to be part of the pre-show. The New Day is somebody that they battled with almost exclusively the whole year over on SmackDown. They had some really, really good matches. And Monday Night Raw would sort of get a fresh kick in the pants from the Usos coming over. The New Day, it was either going to be one of those two teams. Obviously, the New Day is one of the hottest acts that they have in the whole company, even though I think they've sort of ran their... I think they've ran their limit. But honestly, instead of putting on good skits and promos and things like that, right now I think the New Day is skating by because of how good their matches really are. But I think the New Day jumped last year, and for them to jump 2 years in a row would be a little bit weird. So I'm picking the Usos to jump over. And then for the last one, I'm going to pick... I guess I'm going to pick somebody from NXT to get promoted. And right now I'm going to be riding on Tommaso Ciampa. Tommaso Ciampa to me is probably at the hottest point he could be in NXT. I don't really know where he goes from here unless he was to have another rematch against Johnny Gargano. But I think you cash in those chips right now and move him up to Monday Night Raw. I don't really think that he's going to be a mover and a shaker on Monday Night Raw. I don't think he's going to be going in to become a main event guy to wrestle against Roman Reigns. I think he would sort of fit into that mid-card where it's almost like you would sort of forget about him. But he's still there, wrestling on house shows and things like that. But I don't know. This guy's not going to be going to the Performance Center and learning from classes and things like that because of his background in independent wrestling before coming to there. And for him to lose, that size of a match, easily the biggest match that he's ever been in, main eventing that last NXT takeover, I don't really see them sending this guy back and, wrestling for the North American Championship or anything like that.